You're lying to yourself right now. And the worst part? You know it. You know you're pretending. You know you have choices you refuse to make. You know you're playing a role instead of living your life. But you keep doing it anyway because the truth is too heavy to carry. This isn't about little white lies. This is about something deeper and more destructive. The French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre called it bad faith. And once you understand what it means, you'll see it everywhere. In your job, in your relationships, in the mirror, you'll see how you've been hiding from the one thing you can't escape, your own freedom. And that recognition will either break you or set you free. Today we're going into the psychology of self-deception. Not the kind where you tell yourself you'll start that diet tomorrow. The kind where you convince yourself you have no choice when you're drowning in them. The kind where you become a character in someone else's story and forget you were supposed to be writing your own. Let's start with why this happens. Why do we lie to ourselves about who we are? Because freedom is terrifying. Sartre understood this better than almost anyone. He said we are condemned to be free. Not blessed, condemned. Think about what that means. Every moment of your life, you're making choices. Even when you think you're not choosing. That's a choice. Even when you say you have no options, you're choosing to believe that lie dot, and with that freedom comes something unbearable. Responsibility. Total responsibility. You can't blame your parents. Can't blame your circumstances. Can't blame society or the economy or bad luck. Because no matter what hand you're dealt, you still choose how to play it. You choose how to respond. You choose what it means. That weight crushes people. So we do what humans have always done when facing something too painful to hold. We lie. We tell ourselves stories. We convince ourselves that we're not really free. That we don't really have a choice. That this is just who we are. Sartre watched people do this constantly. And he gave it a name. Bad faith? Oh, it's when you deny your own freedom by pretending to be something fixed. Something determined. Something that has no choice but to be exactly what it is. Like, you're a thing instead of a person. Like, you're a rock instead of a conscious being who can imagine infinite possibilities. Here's the twisted part. To be in bad faith, you have to know you're free. You have to know you're lying. Because if you truly believed you had no choice, it wouldn't be self-deception. It would just be ignorance. But bad faith requires awareness. You're simultaneously the liar and the person being lied to. And on some level, Sartre gave famous examples of this. The waiter in the cafe, the woman on the date. Let's break them down because they reveal how we all play this game. Picture a waiter. But not just any waiter. This guy is performing being a waiter. His movements are too precise, too mechanical. His voice is overly eager. His gestures are exaggerated. He's not working as a waiter. He's playing the role of waiter. Like an actor who's trying too hard, Sartre says this waiter is in bad faith. Why? Because by performing the role so rigidly, he's trying to convince himself that being a waiter is what he is, not what he does. What he is. Like his essence is waiter. Like he has no choice but to be this way. But here's the problem. To play act at being a waiter, you have to know on some level that you're not actually a waiter. You're a human being who happens to be doing this job. You have the freedom to quit, to do it differently, to be something else entirely. But acknowledging that freedom means acknowledging responsibility. And that's terrifying. So instead, you disappear into the role. You let it define you. You become the mask, now the woman on the date. She's sitting with a man who's clearly interested in her. He compliments her, but not just her mind or her personality. He's talking about her body, her physical presence. The sexual tension is obvious. She knows it. He knows it. They both know it, but she pretends she doesn't. She takes his compliments as if they're purely intellectual, as if he's admiring her as a consciousness, not as a body he desires. Then he takes her hand. And she does something fascinating. She doesn't pull away, but she doesn't hold his hand either. She just leaves her hand there, limp, passive, like it's not even part of her. Like her hand is just an object that happens to be resting in his palm. Sartre says she's in bad faith because she's trying to be two contradictory things at once. She wants to be desired as a body. That's why she's on the date. But she also wants to deny that she's a body. She wants to be pure consciousness, pure intellect. So she splits herself, treats her hand like it's not her, treats the sexual dimension like it doesn't exist. This lets her avoid making a choice. She doesn't have to decide whether to accept his advances or reject them. She can stay in this comfortable ambiguity. But that ambiguity is a lie. She knows what's happening. She's just pretending she doesn't. These examples might sound specific, old-fashioned even, but the pattern is everywhere. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. You're in bad faith every time you say, I have to, when you mean, I choose to. I have to stay in this job. I have to keep this relationship. I have to live this way. No, you don't. You choose to. Because the alternative scares you more than the prison you've built. You're in bad faith when you define yourself by your role. I'm a lawyer. I'm a parent. I'm an introvert. I'm just not that kind of person. As if these labels are facts about your nature instead of choices you keep making. As if you couldn't wake up tomorrow and be someone completely different. You're in bad faith when you blame your circumstances. I can't pursue my dreams because I have bills to pay. I can't leave because I have responsibilities. I can't change because this is just how things are. But people in worse situations than yours have made different choices, which means the circumstances aren't the prison. Your belief in them is. You're in bad faith when you scroll through other people's lives and tell yourself you're not living yours by choice. When you compare yourself to people who seem more free and say that's just not my life, as if their freedom is something they were given and yours is something you were denied. Instead of seeing the truth, they chose differently. They accepted responsibility. They stopped lying to themselves. You're in bad faith when you perform your identity on social media. When you carefully construct the version of yourself you want people to see. Not because you're sharing your life, but because you're trying to convince yourself that this curated version is who you really are. You're the waiter in the cafe, making your movements too precise, your smile too eager. The modern world runs on bad faith. We've built entire systems around it. Your job wants you in bad faith. It wants you to think that professional is who you are, not a mask you wear. It wants you to internalize the role so deeply that you forget you're choosing to play it. Because workers in bad faith don't quit. Don't question. Don't demand more. Social media thrives on bad faith. It gives you tools to construct a fixed identity and then rewards you for performing it consistently. The algorithm doesn't want you to change. It wants you to be predictable, categorizable, which means it wants you to deny your freedom to be otherwise. Even relationships can operate in bad faith. When you become the partner or the parent and forget you're a person. When you let the role consume you because it's easier than constantly choosing who to be. When you hide behind what's expected instead of asking what you actually want. So why do we do this? Why do we choose bad faith when it makes us miserable? Because the alternative is anguish? Sartre was clear about this. When you truly recognize your freedom, when you see that nothing is forcing your hand, you feel anguish. Not anxiety about specific things. Anguish about existence itself. The dizziness of infinite possibility. The burden of creating yourself from nothing. Most people can't handle that. So they trade their freedom for the comfort of determination. They'd rather be a thing with a fixed nature than a person who has to constantly choose. They'd rather play a role than write the script. They'd rather hide in bad faith than face the terrifying truth that they are radically, inescapably free. And here's the really sick part. Even choosing bad faith is a choice. You can't escape responsibility by denying it. Because the denial itself is something you're responsible for. You're choosing to lie to yourself, which means you know you're free enough to make that choice. which means the lie doesn't even work. Sartre said we're condemned to be free. And that condemnation includes being condemned to know we're free. You can hide from it. You can deny it. You can perform roles and adopt identities and blame circumstances. But on some level, you always know. The truth sits there in your chest like a stone. You're lying to yourself, and you know it. So what's the cost of all this self-deception? What do we lose when we live in bad faith? Everything that makes life worth living. Authenticity, growth, the possibility of becoming someone you're proud to be. Because bad faith keeps you frozen. It keeps you playing the same character over and over, following the same script, making the same choices. Because if you're just this way, if you have no choice, then you never have to risk anything. You never have to try. You never have to fail. Bad faith is the death of potential. It's living your entire life as a shadow of what you could have been. It's getting to the end and realizing you never actually lived. You just performed. You played your role. You did what was expected. And you called that a life, but there's another way. Sartre called it authenticity. It's harder. It's scarier, but it's real. Authenticity means acknowledging your freedom. Fully, completely, with all the anguish that comes with it. It means stopping the performance, dropping the mask, admitting that you're not a fixed thing, but a constant process of choosing who to be. It means when you say, I choose this job, you own that choice. You don't pretend you have to be there. You acknowledge you could leave and you're choosing to stay. Maybe for good reasons. Maybe for bad ones. But it's a choice. And that makes all the difference. Because a choice can be changed. A choice gives you power. It means when you feel yourself disappearing into a role, you catch it. You remember you're playing this part. You're not this part. And tomorrow you could play a different one. Or no part at all. Just you. Whoever that is in this moment. It means accepting that you don't have a fixed identity. You're not the kind of person who anything. You're the kind of person who chooses. And every choice creates you new. That's not a bug. That's the whole point of being human. This doesn't mean you have to burn down your life. Quit your job. Leave your relationships. Reject all social roles. That would just be a different kind of bad faith. The kind where you deny your facticity and pretend you're pure freedom with no limitations. Authenticity is holding both truths at once. Yes, you have circumstances. You have a past. You have responsibilities and limitations and facts about your life. But within those facts, you still choose. You still create meaning. You still decide what it all means and who you're going to be about it. So where does that leave you? Right here. Right now. With a choice, you can close this video and go back to the performance. Back to the comfortable lie that you have no choice. That this is just who you are. That you're stuck. It's easier. It's safer. And millions of people do it. They live their whole lives in bad faith and never question it. Or you can stop lying. You can look at your life and ask the hard question. What am I pretending I have to do that I'm actually choosing to do? What role am I playing that I could stop performing? What would I do if I admitted I was free? Those questions will hurt. The answers will be uncomfortable. Because once you see your freedom, you can't unsee it. Once you recognize your choosing, you become responsible for those choices. And that's heavy. Sartre knew it. That's why he called it condemnation. But here's what he also knew. That way is the only thing that makes your life yours. The only thing that makes your choices matter. The only thing that makes you real instead of just another character in someone else's story. You are not who you were told to be. You are not your job. You are not your past. You are not even who you think you are right now. You are what you choose. Every moment, every breath, every decision to keep lying or start telling the truth. Bad faith is comfortable. But authenticity is alive. And you get to choose which one you want to be. Subscribe if you're ready to stop performing.